Hey guys, this is Lee. Yesterday I talked about a student who got 2.5 in the writing section of an official paid mock test. The raw score was 14, 7 out of 10 in built a sentence, 3 out of 5 in academic discussion, and 4 out of 5 in email writing. This student is aiming for 5 or 6 in the writing section, which is around 18 to 20 points. Of course, built a sentence needs to improve, but if academic discussion stays at 3 out of 5, reaching 18 becomes much harder. And I think this is a problem shared by many people. So today I want to talk about how to improve academic discussion from around 3 out of 5 to 5 out of 5 in terms of raw score. All right. Before anything, let's remember the 3 grading criteria we have talked about before. First, discourse cohesion. Second, syntactic variety. Third, grammar and punctuation accuracy. Now let's look at a 3-point sample that I made by imitating the student's response, the first student that we talked about. This answer is not empty. He has an opinion, understands both sides, and gives some reasons. But the response is still likely around 3 because the discourse, syntax, and grammar are not controlled enough. Let's look at the discourse issues first. Discourse-wise, the response has a basic structure, but it's not perfect, obviously. The writer gives a statement, then a concession, then a cause-effect idea. But after that, the logic becomes loose. This protection will support social welfare. It is related to the topic, but how? It's quite vague. Then the writer moves to commercial applications like unmanned delivery and GPS precision. This could be a useful idea, but it is either not connected to the previous idea or not elaborated enough to form one clear idea. So the response has ideas, but the discourse movement, the topic development is not strong enough. In terms of syntax, the problem is not only that the sentences are long or short. The problem is that the writer does not use enough correct sentence patterns that an AI scorer can easily recognize as syntactic variety. There's an attempt to build one if clause, one that clause, but grammar problems make the sentences less clear. There are some simple sentences too, but these sentences do not contribute to syntactic variety. Grammar-wise, there are quite a few errors. For example, one very common error that happens throughout this piece of writing is subject-verb agreement. If government invests, it should be something like if government invests. So there's an article problem too. I want add should be I want to add. It bring should be it brings. Right. There are also problems with sentence fragments, word forms, noun phrases, etc. But I would not treat this as only a grammar problem. A lot of this happens because the writer is still struggling to plan and connect ideas during the 10 minutes. Under TOEFL time pressure, people are also inventing logic for a topic they may never have thought about before. Maybe some logic is there, but they do not know how to connect it clearly. So planning takes too long and it eats away the 10 minutes they have to write. When topic development is not under control, grammar naturally becomes chaotic, and then there's no time to think about syntactic variety. Some people say they want to improve by reading more or learning more vocabulary. Of course, that can help, but for non-native speakers who want to improve quickly, that is quite indirect. The more direct solution is to reduce chaos in real-time planning. So how do you practice to achieve that? I propose a three-stage practice method. Stage 1 is to control the discourse first. You have to use a template. And this is my favorite template. It's basically statement, reason, a before and after example format. Okay. For this question, the reason is that advanced military technology increases soldiers and military leaders' willingness to protect the country. So once you have the reason, the rest of the template, the logic, becomes much easier. You see, the before story is basically no investment in advanced military technology. So old equipment, no new skills. Therefore, students are not willing to learn and protect the country. And the positive side is the government invests in advanced military technology. So more equipment, more new equipment, more modern training. Therefore, students are more willing to learn and to protect the country. All right, you can see the logic is not that simple, but in the eye of the AI scoring system, this is actually a lot of discourse movements. So at this stage, do not worry about syntax and grammar yet. Look at a question, build your logic like this, and I would go through 10 questions if possible. Here's a full model answer. This response is around 110 words. Before you start writing your own response, I actually recommend that you look at our sample answers in this video and then make sure that you understand the templates, discourse movements, and then look away. Don't look at the answers. Try typing the answer in a separate document without all the spell check. Here's another sample using the same template but with a different topic. When you practice on your own, if you find out that coming up with the reason is quite difficult, then I will also suggest that you use repeatable reasons like this. Okay. We have previous videos that explain these repeatable reasons. You can check them. They're in our channel. After you can see a question and develop a clear discourse following our template, then the next step is to sharpen your syntactic variety. If you follow our template, there are some syntactic variety already built into our template. For example, the first two sentences, sentence 1, I agree with Paul that this uses a that clause. That is because gives a clear reason with the subordinate conjunction because in the middle. Then the example part adds more visible sentence patterns, like not enough budget was allocated, uses passive voice. Since soldiers still train with equipment from 2 decades ago, blah, 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 blah. This sentence uses a fronted subordinate clause. By fronted, it's basically a fancy way to say that at the beginning of the sentence, you have subordinate conjunctions like when, if, because, since. Okay. Now, as geopolitical tension increases, okay, this is also a fronted subordinate conjunction, as, while, things like that. The final sentence talks about boosting their confidence, so that is a participle phrase. This also adds variety. Okay. The point is that the syntax is not separate from our discourse template. So for all the ideas that you developed in stage 1, you can do a dedicated stage 2 practice, inserting different sentence patterns into your stage 1 practice results. All right, stage 3 is systematic grammar error elimination. We will use ChatGPT. there's a sample prompt on the screen. We want to use ChatGPT to find repeated error patterns across your practice answers, and then fix one error type at a time. For example, this particular person has quite a few subject-verb disagreement. It bring innovation. If government invests. Okay. So when you have two errors, then this is very likely a pattern. So what we want to do is that once you use ChatGPT to read through analysis, then you can go back to your original samples and fix one problem at a time. For example, subject verb disagreement, sample 1, sample 2, sample 3. Okay. If you correct your grammatical mistakes this way, you will have a very strong impression. The most efficient way of fixing grammar issues is to find those top occurring grammatical issues. Here's a bonus template that you can use. This template supports one student's answer, elaborate the idea a little bit, and then acknowledge the other student's point of view, elaborate a little bit, and then a conclusion in the end. Okay. So that's it. Don't do everything at a time. It'll kill you. It will overwhelm you.